Hi, my name is Emily Ann Palermo, and today I'm going to be using the concepts discussed in Dr. D's economic history class to analyze the economics of the wizarding world of Harry Potter. More specifically, following the analysis, I'm going to further emphasize that if the wizarding world and the Muggle world were to intertwine, more societies would experience a beneficial industrial revolution. There is a strong foundation of economic structure within society today. However, one of the most interesting aspects of the infamous Harry Potter series, written by J.K. Rowling, is the unconventional economic system that governs the wizarding world. Not only is the wizarding society unique via the various abilities possessed by those living in it, but the economy is surprisingly lacking in terms of innovation. Though the wizarding world is a magical universe filled with the phenomena far beyond the imagination of any human being, the wizarding world does have some economic structure despite its many flaws. One of the main economic concepts that is easily recognizable is Gringotts Bank. As it is beneficial for any society to have these institutions, the monetary and financial system are stuck somewhere around the late Renaissance, seeing as Gringotts serves as the only bank. This bank also allows physical money to collect in vaults, meaning that the accounts do not grow interest, as well as the bank does not grant loans to borrowers either. This means that all businesses are established via self-financing methods. It is safe to assume that a majority of magical entrepreneurs are those witches and wizards who were previously affluent, which clearly does not encourage innovation, growth, and social mobility. One bank in the wizarding world is also controversial, as it is also performing all of the functions of the central bank on top of being the causing factor for an unstable financial system. Furthermore, we must also take into account the concentrated labor market within the wizarding world. A majority of the jobs are through the government, Hogwarts is only one of 3 schools, and St. Mungo's happens to be the only hospital available to witches and wizards. There are also limited locations for private commerce, like Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade. Aside from employment opportunities for human capital, or wizard capital, slavery is actually a key pillar of the wizarding economy. The individuals that are enslaved are actually magical creatures who have magical abilities themselves. They are treated extremely poorly and are forced to wear whatever tattered rags they can find as clothing. Another interesting concept is the idea of scarcity. In the stories, we see scarcity in both the wizarding world and the Muggle world. Magic and technology play the same role. They're a way of dealing with scarcity, a way of creating a better life with scarce resources, which have alternative uses. And while magic generates different solutions than technological innovations, the implications of scarcity are the same in both worlds. Of course, a wand would make life easier. However, witches and wizards are actually unable to conjure food and other basic necessities from their wands. Of course, we must recognize the modern economic structure of the Muggle society. In the United States, we have a central bank and the concept of fiscal and monetary policy. This is what allows us to combat volatility in the economy, regulate business cycles, and set reserve requirements. Unlike the wizarding world, who has a singular bank, the Federal Reserve System is put in place to monitor and regulate the variety of different banking institutions in the United States. We also have high labor mobility here in the United States, meaning it is easy for individuals to switch careers in terms of what they're interested in and what they are educated about. Additionally, education plays an enormous role in our labor market. Unlike the wizarding world, where the concept of university doesn't exist, as well as a limited selection of primary educational institutions where an individual receives their education, and what they specialize in has a lot to do with where they wind up in terms of a career path. High labor mobility again allows for specialization. There are a variety of different institutions to select from, as well as areas of education. Now, the question still remains, why can't we just integrate the Muggle and wizarding societies? In the novels, J.K. Rowling declares that due to the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, the Muggle world and the wizarding world are not permitted to interact with one another. This was enforced for 2 reasons. 1, uncertainty. It was assumed that Muggles would be scared of witches and wizards and their abilities, simply because they didn't understand their society and the way the world works. And number 2, dark wizards, or Death Eaters, or followers of Lord Voldemort would simply enslave the Muggles. Funny enough, this law was actually put into effect in 1689, the same year to which the Bill of Rights was implemented by British Parliament. Many see the Bill of Rights as crucial in the UK developing into a democratic and capitalistic society, but unfortunately, the Wizarding Statute did not seem to have the same effect on the wizarding world, as the society is far from capitalistic. It would take advanced overturning of this bill in order to integrate both societies. However, I'm wondering if J.K. Rowling sees the potential for growth in both societies, she would abolish this law immediately. Fortunately, I am a fan of overturning this bill, so let me explain to you what would happen if we did integrate societies. In accordance with the integration of societies during the Industrial Revolution, trade and immigration allows for specialization and not only the exchange of goods and services, but ideas. This is where both the Wizarding world and the Muggle world would find this mutually beneficial. Differences in opportunity cost should allow for the United States to focus on technological advances, and the Wizarding world can focus on efficient production. As we discussed previously, magic cannot solve every problem. However, this would boost efficiency and production. This is almost similar to introducing modern machinery into third world countries, or like introducing the iPhone into society, or providing an insanely beneficial opportunity for growth. Similarly, there are some non-magical innovations that don't exist in the wizarding world. Therefore, witches and wizards might be better off with the introduction of mass-produced, manufactured robes, as opposed to the singular hand-sewn shop located in Diagon Alley. Ballpoint pens and printer paper might make education more efficient, as students will not be scribbling on parchment with a hippogriff quill. Yeah, say that 10 times fast. Finally, internet access may be magic in itself, seeing as Owl Post can be replaced via email, and the large books making up the Hogwarts library might just be a little bit lighter. The Solo model for economic growth explains growth via savings and investment in the long run. We applied this to the Industrial Revolution in class, and now we are going to apply it to the magical Industrial Revolution. A key component of economic growth is saving and investment. An increase in savings and investment raises the capital stock and thus raises the full employment of national income and product. With the assumption of full employment of capital and labor, we can assume that the wizarding world adopted the intensive labor mobility present in society of the Muggle world. On the other hand, we can also assume that the Muggle world further diversified our broad array of employees with some wizarding folk. Furthermore, the basic production function will be affected as consumption is going to skyrocket as well as CPI. The integration of Muggle goods and wizarding goods will provide an incentive for higher saving and investment, thus boosting the economies of both societies.